I did attempt to draw a dream catcher. Second attempt, it's better than the first. I did make a dream catcher when I was a kid, but then when my niece was born, she thought it looked better in the toilet, so that one probably wasn't good either, to be fair. Hey guys, my name's Gloria and welcome back to my channel where I review all kinds of books, but mainly lean towards horror, and also document my quest to become a published writer myself. So today is not Monday, but it is my first video of the week. I've had a little bit of a bad time sleeping, but it is my first video of the week, so I want to recommend a small booktuber to you, and the booktuber I have chosen today is actually quite close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you do check her out and if you do like her stuff, please give her a subscription so that she can reach the 1K mark. And her name is Kasha in Bookland. She has an enviable aesthetic. She has a great set of bookshelves that I am very envious of. She reviews horror books, horror movies. She has a coffee time where she discusses lots of things, and I just really like her channel. I really like what she's putting out there. And she also collects lots of pop figures and horror merchandise and whatnot, so if you like your nerdy stuff, head on over to Kasha in Bookland and subscribe. But for my own review today, I want to talk about a recent read of mine that has been on my TBR for way too long, and it is Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. I did get this from the infamous book swap table at work. It has the oldest It's bookshop in Ireland. It has like this sticker on the back. I can tell by the design of the name is like older than me. 11 quid for this. And I posted about this on Instagram. I said that I was going to read it, and quite a few people, surprisingly a few people that I know, were telling me that they loved it, that they couldn't wait to hear what I thought of it, which did kind of make me a little uncomfortable, because most of the time when that happens I end up not liking it very much. And honestly, when I started reading this, that was kind of the case, but I'll go into that. So Dreamcatcher, in classic Stephen King fashion, is now following the grown-up lives of boys that grew up in Derry, Maine. Shocking, I know. In the present, they are on one of their annual hunting trips in the woods at a cabin that they call Hole in the Wall, but their story really began when they were in middle school, when they were young boys, and they met a boy with Down syndrome called Douglas or Duddits, because that's how Douglas pronounces his own name. So his name is Duddits. And Duddits has some special telepathic talents. So they befriend Duddits, they keep him safe from bullies, they walk him to school, and because of their proximity to Duddits, and because Duddits likes them, I guess, they develop telepathic abilities as well. So Pete can find things, and I think Henry and Jonesy are better at reading people's minds. Now as adults, they each have their own issues. One is Pete has some alcohol issues. He has a drinking problem. Henry has been having suicidal thoughts, and Beaver just doesn't seem all that happy with life. And Jonesy is recovering from a near fatal car accident that broke his hip, broke a lot of bones in his body, and he had to go through a lot of physical therapy just to be able to walk again. But on this particular hunting trip, they find some other hunters in the forest who are sporting some bizarre fungus and bizarre wind problems as well, and parasitic worms and strange lights in the sky. Unsurprisingly, aliens have landed, and just outside Derry, just outside where they are, or in the area that they are hunting, and almost instantly the military are there. They've quarantined the place. They don't want anyone to get out. But because of this group's abilities, their telepathic abilities, because the aliens that come, they also have telepathic abilities, and they are transmitting messages to humans to try and get them to stop killing them. But because of these men's abilities, they get caught up in very different ways, and one of them is actually even more special, and he gets taken over by one of the aliens. His body isn't completely ruined by them like some other people, and he's basically used as a puppet trapped inside his own head while an alien tries to break out of the quarantine zone and infect the rest of the world with this horrible red fungus and these parasitic worms. And of course it all comes right back around to Duddits. Now, I found the beginning of Dreamcatcher to be quite slow and scattered. I think mainly it was because, despite the fact that they do begin in this cabin, and the cabin has a big dream catcher in it, that's partly where the book gets its name, and they've been coming there for years. They associate it with their past life and with Duddits. They don't spend very long there. Within the first 100 pages, I think, they all exit that place and they don't come back. So it felt almost like we were in a stasis for the entire first part of the book. I didn't feel grounded in the story. The setting was very good, but it felt like I was waiting for them to get somewhere, and that's not really what the book is about. It's not about them getting anywhere. There was no real anchor point for the story for me. Also, the group, eventually I did come to like the group, the four men that are on this hunting trip, but in the beginning they were sort of interchangeable to me. You're introduced to them quite quickly, and unsurprisingly, Stephen King did write this right after his own near fatal car accident. I think it was while he was recovering he wrote Dreamcatcher, and because of this, I think at one point 3 of the 4 men are struggling with serious leg injuries, and that was sort of jarring to me. You sort of get mixed up on, you know, which is the one who had the car accident, which is the one who just fell over, which is the one who's broken something. Everyone just had a bad hip and they were all limping about in the cold and the snow. So obviously pain and hip pain was a big thing on Stephen King's mind whenever he was writing this, but it did make the stories and the main characters sort of interchangeable and sort of meld together a little bit at the start. The actual aliens, I'm still not 100% sure about the aliens in the book. The explanation, again, quite scattered for the length of this book. There isn't a full explanation of them. And so there are the greys that come down, the stereotypical big head, black eyes, humanoid figures that land and are trying to communicate. But then there's this red fungus, and it's almost like the red fungus has infected the greys. So I'm not sure if they're 2 separate aliens or if they've come together to try and infect Earth with both of them. And then when you get to the fungus, there's people who get the fungus and it grows all over them and it grows in their mouth and in their orifices. But then there's people, if they consume any of the fungus into their stomach, they can grow a worm in them that then tears its way out of their asshole and lays eggs. It's just, biology terms, it's a strange entity, and I didn't really get how it was supposed to transmit. Did it transmit in the air? Did it transmit by being consumed? Did it reproduce by passing to another host or by laying eggs? It was all a little bit confusing for me. And then also at the end, the explanation because the character who does get trapped inside of his head while this alien takes over his body, the alien does try and communicate with him, and he starts calling it Mr. Grey, because his idea of an alien is a grey. But you sort of get the sense, or you're told, that it only seems like that because that's how he would imagine it, and it's just, that explanation just sort of seems strange to me. By the end of the book, you're almost like, was there really a conscious entity speaking to him, or was he just imagining that? Was he actually the driving force behind trying to spread the infection in the first place. Was there ever an alien there? I did end up liking the book in the end. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I spent some time with these characters. But it was a bit hard going. I don't think it's one of Stephen King's best works. There is the head of the military there. He's your classic crazy guy. You don't know what he's going to do next. But I think he was just a little bit too crazy. He was just absolutely a complete lunatic. He was off the charts, and he seemed almost more of a caricature than a character, and he was just there to just push people's buttons and get things going, and he just didn't seem as good as some of the other evil guys, the other crazy guys that normally tend to populate Stephen King's stories. This is definitely not a PC book. Definitely a few unnecessary N-words in there because Stephen King. Also, the word retard was used quite a lot. I just like blanked it out of my head. I just completely skipped over it because it's just not necessary. I get it. They're middle school kids, middle school boys, you know, fucking about, but it just, you didn't need to use it quite so many times. There's also a bizarre line at the end. I don't know if I can find it. Oh, I found it immediately. So this is just talking about one of the characters at the end. There were times when he thought he might be the only man on earth who truly understood what it was to be raped. I think lots of men on earth understand what that's like, Stephen. I mean, yeah, a lot of them do. I think you've even written about a few of them. Weirdly enough, that was almost on the last page, and that was just like such a bizarre sentence to read. It didn't really, because it was coming from a well-educated, well-rounded character as well. It was just like bizarre. But I did like the book. I think one of the things about it is that alien stories, like I grew up watching The X-Files with my brothers. I do like alien stories. I do prefer ghosts and paranormal stories, but I do like alien stories. What I don't like is the stereotypical, they're so intelligent and they're so much better than us that they were able to travel across galaxies just to get to us, just to land on our planet, and then they're crap and they're useless and they do stupid things and they're not any smarter than us. We're able to take them down by just a simple bomb, or a simple one-man small idea is able to completely thwart these aliens who've traveled across galaxies just to get to us for some reason. Don't know why we're that interesting, because honestly we're not. But yeah, I think it had a lot of the typical stereotypical tropes of an alien story, it with a Stephen King spin on it. The characters did come into their own by the end of it, but I think it was also just too long. It didn't need to be this long. There was a lot of slogging through trees and snow, and just, it could have been a lot shorter. I did watch the movie, and no, apparently 78% of viewers enjoyed it, and I don't believe you. I just don't believe you. That was a lie. From the first 5 minutes, I knew this was going to be a god-awful movie. It was horrific. Whatever about what I didn't like about the story, I would read this book again, but I will never lay eyes on that movie ever again. There were great actors in it. They're like, I just don't know what happened. It was just terrible. And the guy who gets taken over by the alien, they're all American, but he just decides to talk in the most over-the-top British accent I've ever heard. Like, ew, Teddy here, let's go and infect the planet with worms. It's just absolutely bizarre. It was almost farcical. It took any kind of horror, any kind of threat out of him whatsoever. He was just ridiculous. That's all it was. And also, one of the interesting things, well, not one of the interesting things, but an interesting thing about the story is whenever this guy is trapped inside of his own head, he sort of visualizes it as a big warehouse filled with boxes where he keeps his memories, and he's in this little safe room, the only room that the alien can't get to him in, and the alien gets distracted at a couple of points and he's able to run out and grab certain memories that he doesn't want the alien to have. I think it was handled pretty well in the book. I think Stephen King's used this sort of thing before because he does talk about telepathy and being inside your own head a lot. But in the movie, it's just so badly done. It's so badly explained. I think this just wasn't the type of story that you could do in a 2-hour runtime. It's just too complicated, too many characters, too many bizarre internal things going on that I don't think, it just did not work in a visual medium. Absolutely bizarre. Do not recommend. Get rid of that movie. Let's never speak of it again. It's Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. It is a story of friendship, of broken promises. I'm going to put it on my shelf. I might read it again. I think it was good. I don't think it was great. So that was Stephen King's Dreamcatcher. Let me know what you thought of it. I'm sure I've pissed off plenty of people who think it's the greatest book he's ever written. But let's agree to disagree. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed so far and everyone who's been watching my videos. I am still hoping and working towards getting to 200 subscribers by the end of the year. So thank you so much for everyone who has done that for me. If you do like what I'm doing, you can like and subscribe down below for more videos. I will have a couple more reviews coming up this week related to my Horror in 24 readathon. Don't forget to check out Kasha in Wonderland, and I shall see you in the next video.